everybody. Welcome back to Strong Female Lead. I'm Tessa.
And I'm Tricia.
And oh my god. Oh, we didn't even sing.
Ready?
Working 9 to 5. What a way to make a living. Barely getting by. Something about the living. You get it.
Use your mind. Wow, I get way worse when I don't have someone else covering up my voice.
You were great. What are you talking about?
Oh, God,
it was
guys,
wonderful.
This was a delight.
This was such a breath of fresh air. Why isn't anyone talking about how good 9 to 5 is? I feel like people are bringing back Clueless. We brought back Cruel Intentions. Bring back 9 to 5.
You know what? A modern version of 9 to 5 would be very, very
I would
funny.
watch that. It could have the same cast and I'd still watch it.
Same cast.
It could, but they wouldn't be hauling ass 9 to 5 though. I mean, how old are the women who were
like in
the
their
cast?
70s, but they're still acting.
For sure, but like, I mean, they're the age they could retire. They're not going to be schlepping for some like
maybe
sexist dude.
Maybe they're terrible millennial children just moved back in.
Yeah,
and so now they're back to the 9 to 5. Just
not saying you shouldn't work or you can't work when you're in your 70s. I just feel like at that age, I'm not going to put up with a fucking boss like this. Like, I'm just going to hit the road and say bye.
I feel like if I had a boss like this, I might like my corporate job more. Like someone to just actively hate instead of just like generally hating everything, to like focus it on something.
You have like a real human.
Yeah, like a real like point of anger instead of just like generally hating everything that's happening. I just like to think that I am reaping the benefits of Dolly Parton's hard work. Mm-hmm. Where I work from 9:30-ish till 5:30-ish, pretty much when I show up.
I like the ish schedule. Yeah. Is that different from the flexi schedule?
Well, it's because I made it my own. I just show up sometime around 9:30, and I leave sometime.
Hi, Tessa's boss.
Yeah.
So, the movie?
The movie 9 to 5. What a gem. I loved it. I was like, what a feel-good romp. It was an hour 50, but I didn't mind it.
And this was voted... Like, this was a popular one suggested by you guys. So just so you know, you can impact what we talk about on this podcast.
Your vote in elections might not matter, but your vote does matter here.
Your vote matters for us. And we listened. We hear you. And we're here to give it to you. This movie was phenomenal. I had never seen, really, like, I know who Jane Fonda is. I know the whole Vietnam scandal with Jane Fonda. I get that she's a national treasure, et cetera, and same as Lily Tomlin and Dolly Parton, but I had never seen or remember seeing any of them in a movie. And so I was happy to go back and see it.
I had never seen this, and I do always get it confused with Working Girls. I always think they're the same movie, and they're not. Which is like a great movie. Working Girls is a great movie. But I really like this, and I know I don't normally like things that happened in the 80s, and I like to just not acknowledge it as much as possible.
Yeah.
But I did really like this, except for Teen Witch.
The only...
Now there are 2 asterisks on the decade that is the 80s, which is Working Girls.
I've got a couple other 80s movies up my sleeves, and I had never seen this either, but it was my pick. But I know I would have liked it because my mom and dad showed me kind of this genre of movie when I was pretty young. And I mean, they're harmless for sure.
But
like,
so good.
Death Becomes Her was my favorite fucking movie when I was a kid.
Which I've never seen.
That's a good one.
Definitely. When she shoots the hole in her stomach.
Yeah, I want to do Death Becomes Her, and then that's Meryl Streep.
Yeah,
and,
Meryl Streep.
Goldie Hawn. Okay. And that's a gem, falls in this category, but I've always loved these movies.
Because they're feel good, but then it's also very smart, and it's also like a tad dark, but like in a very funny, comedic, light way. It was awesome.
I thought they held up really well. I thought the acting was good then, and it held up today. I really liked it.
It was the actors, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, the cast was awesome.
Awesome. And I didn't really get sad about this movie until the very end, and I was like, we're still doing this? The same fight.
Oh, I know. Then you're like...
That their parents did.
Those poor women, they thought they were making an impact. And like 40 fucking years later, Me Too comes out of the curtains and is like...
Not only that, the memos, the equal pay...
Yeah.
And, I mean, the daycare, like, shit we're still fighting for. I was like, oh, no. It was so, like, progressive, and then we just haven't followed through.
Yeah, they were trying to pave the way, and we got sidetracked. Hopefully we're back on track.
We're back on track. We're getting there.
Hopefully equal pay just really stops and starts with those movie stars, because they really just need the equal pay, not us. I roll. Thank you. I'm glad they bring it up. And Cam and I talked about this. I get equal pay is important all around.
Cam?
Oh, yeah. Right, guys. I have a friend who's here. she's just been here, and she's just kind of like walked in.
Cam's back for episode 2.
And, you know, not that we're recording episodes back to back or anything, but Cam is just here, and she came to visit again. And now she's here, you know, part of the podcast. Hi, Cam.
Hi, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Cam and I were talking about equal pay and, you know, movie stars and how they sort of lead the charge with some of it. And I think it's important because, like, equal pay is equal pay. But it's just like, is the change going to happen for them before it happens for someone who's just like getting by? I mean,
yes.
They deserve it. It's relative, right? Just because you make more money doesn't mean you should make less than your co-star who's male. I get it. But it's just like, come on, like, let's bring it to the people who really need money.
Exactly.
But no one listens to us. So here we are.
Yes. So 9 to 5.
Yeah.
So I love this plot, and it's the plot that is available on Wikipedia, and I just like the way that it's written, so I'm going to read it exactly as it's written.
Let's plagiarize it. It's amazing. I have it up too.
Okay. Yeah. It's not plagiarizing. This is the people's Wikipedia.
The people's Wikipedia.
For all you know, I could have written this.
Did you?
Stay tuned.
Okay. So Judy Burnley is forced to find work after her husband, Dick, runs off with his secretary. Judy finds employment as a secretary at Consolidated Companies. The senior office supervisor is Violet Newstead, played by Lily Tomlin, who introduces Judy to the company staff, including the mailroom clerk, Eddie, alcoholic Margaret Foster, the opportunistic boss, Franklin Hart Jr., and Roz Keith, Hart's executive assistant. So let's just stop there.
Because that is a long fucking paragraph, and I don't know if we realized how long the sentences were.
No. And I feel like this is probably written by a dude.
You think so?
She's forced to find work after her husband, Dick, runs off with his secretary. She's forced to. I'm like, okay, well.
I mean, well, A, cliche, get it, runs off with secretary.
called
Who doesn't
alimony.
cheat with their secretary? And then B, so Judy is Jane Fonda. That's her
Judy is
character.
Jane Fonda.
Violet is Lily Tomlin. Franklin Hart is Daphne Coleman, whose face I know from places and don't know what he's done. Right? And then, we haven't gotten to Dolly Parton. So yeah, so she starts working at this job, and eventually she starts to find out about Big Bad Boss, who Lily Tomlin introduced her to and tells her the lay of the land.
Yeah, I loved the scenes where she's struggling with the world's largest copy machine. Mm-hmm. Wow. Mm-hmm. Life was hard.
It was.
Dude, there were so many buttons.
It reminded me of the Lucille Ball, like that's a common scene, right?
Candy.
Where something, the chocolate, where it just like starts moving fast. You're just like, ah! It's all this physical comedy of just like, copy. I mean, I've worked a copy machine. Granted, it wasn't the size of a house like the old ones were, but papers don't just go flying everywhere. So yeah, copy machines, like the machine itself, it's like computers when they used to be like huge. Oof. They don't really take up as much space, obviously. Yeah. But that one was a monster.
But can you imagine like growing up with a typewriter and then like I just like think it's like, you know, like if I went to NASA, like you get it, right? Like someone just walking me into a room and it's like, you get it, rockets, right?
Oh, I know.
That's how I felt like she felt, and I was like, I resonate with that because no.
It's not rocket surgery.
Rocket surgery. Tell you, ooh, I like this idea of surgery on rocket.
Clear.
I think this page that you were reading earlier, I honestly think it was written by a woman, though.
I agree.
Because mainly the male character, look at the name. If a man wrote it, it would have been Richard. But a woman wrote it and just said Dick.
And I read it like she's forced, like because like he fucked the secretary again. Like that's how I was seeing it.
Yeah, like the boss comes up. I don't mean to force Dick down your throat or anything, but he wants his memo.
Well, that's a fantastic foreshadow.
It really is. It really is. And I really enjoyed that his name was Dick the whole time. And I was like, yes, thank you.
Oh, God. Yeah. So, okay. So I've been in a Lily Tomlin situation, though, where, like, I have been shown around the office, and they're like, this person, this button, and then you press this, and then, okay, good, okay, check it in a little bit, and you're like, holy shit. So, like, I kind of understood it, but she seemed like she hadn't been in the workforce for a long time.
Mm-hmm. I just had to train someone this past week, and she's here from Tampa, and I was like, I felt really bad for her because she was just like, it's an overwhelming like process and shit to learn. It's very overwhelming. It's a lot of data being thrown at you. Like if you're not like up on your Excel shit, like you're going to struggle. So the whole time I'm like just giving her the rundown of my job, and the whole time you could just see like the blank look on her face, and I'm like, it's fine, you don't have to get it. I'm just telling you because they're making me. I'll have a Skype conversation with you at any time when you like get settled. Like this is just like going through the motions. Like don't worry about it.
It should be followed up with something in writing because like I don't know, I don't learn that way. I
Nobody
learn by
does.
doing, not even reading or like I learn by actually doing.
Yeah. Okay, so the next person we meet is Dolly Parton's character, who is Dorley Rhodes, who's Dr. Hart. He's not a doctor. He's just a guy.
Yeah, he's definitely not
Mr.
Dr.
Hart's
Dick.
secretary.
Dick Hart.
Dick Hart. So Violet reveals to Judy that Hart is supposedly involved with his buxom secretary, Dolly Parton, and Hart exploits and mistreats his female subordinates with backstabbing and sexist remarks. Not on our watch.
Well, it was. We were watching it.
It was.
In movie form.
That happened. But well before any of us were alive, so not on our watch.
True. It was bad. It was bad.
Yeah, because I couldn't tell through a lot of movies if this was like a heightened version of what happened in most workplaces, or if this was just like exactly what it was like.
So here's the thing. So sexual harassment, so the Civil Rights Act, I'm going to drop some knowledge. Civil Rights Act of 1964 made discrimination based on sex illegal. But sexual harassment only became codified as part of the law through court cases that happened in the 70s and 80s. So when this came out, it was happening. It was much more blatant, and there was some case law that was, finding in favor of the plaintiff. But they were right to think that they didn't really have a lot of options.
Yeah.
So when that was happening, yes, discrimination is illegal, but there aren't even that many women in the workforce, as many as men. Now they're in the workforce, and they just it hadn't caught up. And so it was happening like that. I don't think that was an exaggeration at all.
Yeah. Ugh.
And it was pretty gruesome. It was funny because we're supposed to laugh, but he was just openly hitting on her, trying to kiss her, grabbing her.
Dropping the pencil so he could look down her dress.
I mean, just the stuff
that shit's happened to me. I'm like, okay, well.
Has it happened to you?
Oh yeah. And then I wised up. When I was first starting out, kind of fresh out of college, I just didn't grasp what was happening. Not that I was stupid, but I was that doesn't really happen. Kind of think that this is all just a heightened sense of reality, not that this is exactly what would happen in a workplace. But yeah, really creepy. I worked in real estate and renting apartments to people, so it gets really shady, and you're showing these apartments to people by yourself, and you're in locations you weren't
and you don't have a background check on them at that point because they're just looking.
It's just someone who said they wanted to see an apartment and me, and you get trained. Real estate is really creepy for women, for anybody, but I'm especially for women, because you're just in a foreign environment with people you don't know, and you have to you learn how to let people into the apartment so that you're always behind them should something go wrong. You can only do it during certain hours, or it's recommended that you only do it during certain hours because people get crazy. I've had experiences where I had to call someone else to show something with me because I felt so uncomfortable being alone in a space with someone.
Because you met the person, the potential tenant, and you're nope. Not
just kind of from the voicemail, and I'm I don't know. I don't want to do this. People have had much worse experiences than I did, but yeah, it gets creepy, especially in service industry stuff, because you have to be pleasant, and a lot of times that pleasantness comes with strings.
Yeah.
Which sucks. Especially I feel I'm nothing compared to people waitresses and sex workers.
The worst is the housekeeping industry at hotels. I mean, no one is treated worse than those women. I mean, they are bottom of the barrel for sexual assault. It's terrible.
Okay, so we're still at the beginning, and Hart, he's taking credit for one of Violet's ideas, which is to color code their filing system to save 20% in productivity. We're going to go up 20% in productivity if we color code the files.
Which is a great idea, but I'm sort of why hasn't anyone thought of this yet? And why is it increasing productivity by that amount?
That's pretty significant. 20%?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
then do it. And then, yeah, so, like, the boss comes and Hart takes credit for her work. And then
In front of her.
And then she is, like, visibly irritated and pissed. And she's like, I'm getting out of here. I'm getting a drink at Charlie's. And then Hart calls Dora Lee to his office and pretty much sexually assaults her. Drops a cup of pencils, so she picks it up. And
he grabs her, I think.
Yeah. It's very handsy.
And she was just like, I mean, the sweetest pie, like, kind of thing. I was like, oh boy, like, she's strong, and we know that she's strong, and we learn that. She's playing the game because she doesn't want to lose her job.
Yeah.
But she's so nice. It was sad. The whole thing was so sad. She couldn't be more forceful with him at that time.
Yeah, and he's like 6'3" to her, like, she was very small.
Itty.
Yeah, she's tiny.
But her hair gave her height, man.
It really did.
It was like 5 inches tall.
Her and Jane Fonda's hair, I was like, my God, the hair
higher
straight
the
to
higher
the
the hair,
gods.
the closer to God. For sure. Holy shit. And Jane Fonda's glasses were everything.
Yeah, those would work now. Those
The
really,
chain.
yeah.
Love it.
Why don't people do that anymore? My glasses are constantly falling off.
I'm pretty sure my grandma had glasses like that.
And then Dolly Parton says Hillary's favorite line about the dicks.
Was this in this scene?
Yeah, when she's like, get off me, or she's gonna shoot his dick off.
Yeah, she like reveals that she has a handgun in her purse. And I mean, she doesn't hide it at all that she's gonna shoot his dick off, which is, I guess, a little bit of foreshadowing.
I know. But it is
Yeah,
funny.
I mean, she got away with it too.
You were able to really break the laws
Yeah.
in terms of what you said.
Yeah.
If you say that
They could say anything, but I guess she could too, maybe. I don't know. There's no threat of losing her job or anything.
She did. She threatened to shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was the weird thing, is that she felt comfortable enough to say that. So I was like, she must have felt like she had some sort of leverage. Like, if you keep pursuing this line, there will be consequences, and I'll be in the right. Because otherwise, I wouldn't threaten to shoot someone.
And also, so Lily Tomlin Dora Lee played by Dolly Parton. She was Dick's assistant, but when she wasn't there, Lily Tomlin, who was in a higher, like, more superior role, would always have to do Dolly Parton's work. So she'd like get him coffee. She bought him a scarf for his wife, but then he gives it to Dolly Parton's character because he just really wants to start like a full-fledged affair. And so when she comes out with the scarf, like, Lily Tomlin is pretty cool about Dora Lee, because, like, when people are gossiping about her and Jane Fonda is even asking her questions, she's like, good for her. I mean, if she wants to, she wants to. She doesn't seem to judge her at that moment for it, but I can see why maybe she thinks it a little bit, because when she walks out wearing the scarf, like, you're getting a gift like that. I can see people putting it together, but I still think it was so unfair for Dora Lee also.
Yeah.
You know? But, like, Lily Tomlin actually was her reaction initially to Dora Lee, thinking Dora Lee was sleeping with her, she wasn't mad by it, which I thought was kind of like, okay, cool. Because if she was, I guess it really isn't your business. But I don't know. It's annoying. That's because true. You should.
I think she didn't really see her as competition, so I think she was like not mad because of that. Like, if she was like another like person that she had trained and like was getting promoted over her, I'm sure she'd been like falling in line with like Hart prefers her, and this is why he prefers her, and she's like, you know, dirty in whatever ways.
But for the 80s, it was sort of like just not. Because it is shitty when you know people are, like, sleeping to get where they want, and you're not willing to do that, and you see them moving up. But for the 80s, for her to just kind of, like, not shame her about it, although she does later. Yeah. She doesn't in the beginning. It's like, oh, interesting. I was sort of shocked, and I was like, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. And then there's the horrible, horrible woman, what is her name? Fuck.
Roz. Ew.
God.
Ew.
Roz, you asshole. Yeah. Like, she is so boring. She's the definition of basic. Like, I hated her. She's very nosy, and she's like Hart's eyes and ears in the office, so if anything's going on,
she
Roz
says as
an
executive assistant. So then she is like hiding in the bathroom taking notes and stuff about what people say.
Yeah. And so Jane Fonda's character is talking in the bathroom. Oh, we don't know it's Jane Fonda, but like there's a character, Maria, who's in the bathroom talking about her salary. And Roz is also in the bathroom. They didn't look under the stalls because Roz's shoes are there, and they're probably basic as fuck, some like orthopedic nonsense. So Maria gets fired for talking about her salary. Women, don't be talking. So she gets fired, and Jane Fonda is like, had it. She's like, up to here. Like, there's no way Maria should have gotten fired because that's a perfectly normal thing to talk about. So Maria gets fired. Jane Fonda's so mad and she's like crying all over the place. And she's like, I'm taking the rest of the day off.
I know, Jane Fonda needs a drink because Maria got fired.
I know.
Like, I get it for the movie.
I was like, way to make this about you, Jane.
I was like, Jesus, yeah. She like barely started working there. And they're all just able to leave. Which I love also where people just take off and they're like, I'm going. And then they say openly they're going to a bar. That would not fly in my job. You have to lie about that shit.
Yeah.
You have to say you're sick or someone else is
doctor.
sick.
Yeah, and you see a doctor. Now, women's problems. Ugh, that probably would have worked for everything.
Oh yeah, feminine problems.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they all have to take the rest of the day off. Doralee because she's been sexually harassed. Violet because she's been looked over, and Jane Fonda's character, whose name I always
Because
forget.
someone else got fired.
Because somebody else got fired, and she's just so frustrated. Like,
We just
so
needed
hard.
them all to be at the bar together.
Yeah. Yeah. Charlie's bar. So they're there singing their songs of woe about how Mr. Hart is ruining all of their lives.
And
then
they become friends. And
they
they
become
actually speak
friends.
with Doralee, which is nice because they get her story eventually. And I was like, okay, good girl.
Yeah. And Doralee had, like, no idea that was why people have been so cold to her, because, like, in the office she sits alone at lunch and she's, like, somewhat of a nerd.
And she's so sweet. I'm like, why aren't you guys friends with her? Like, don't be so jealous just because she's pretty.
Well, they think she's sleeping with the boss.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I know.
So they form their new friendship, and then they go back to
Shared enemy.
over
the best
shared
thing.
enemy.
The best thing for a friendship.
It's the best thing to galvanize things.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going back to Violet's house to smoke a marijuana cigarette.
So they go and they share this joint, and clearly they don't smoke that often because they are sharing the teeny tiniest joint, and they are
Fucking
ripped.
yeah,
I love it.
they are lit.
And they're eating. I mean,
And-
it's just the typical like blah, 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 eating
Ribs
everything.
and like they had so much food on that table, and I was like, "There's only 3 of you," but I was like, "I also get it." Like
She had like a paper like chain
Yeah.
thing around her.
they're doing crafts. I was like, where are the deleted scenes from 9 to 5 where they're just like making crafts, smoking blunts? Because that's my ideal life.
Actually, yeah, making crafts and smoking
Making
blunts
crafts, smoking blunts.
or cramming any sort of adult color book.
Yeah.
Making crafts or making Kraft mac and cheese.
Ooh.
Nice little combo.
Mm.
Yeah,
Blunts
absolutely.
on craft. I'm into it.
But they're fun. And this is like a total blunts on craft. I love it, and it's a scene we've seen in a ton of movies, but like it gets me every time where it's like people bond and they loosen up, and marijuana or alcohol is always involved, and then they come up with some like harebrained
scheme.
It's just the best.
I
every
loved
time.
it. I loved their schemes. So Violet's is the most violent, and that's why probably I liked it the most. Violet is Lily Tomlin. So she's like Beauty or Snow White.
Wait, they're sharing their fantasies of how they would kill him.
How to get rid of Hart, yeah.
Okay.
And Lily Tomlin is like Snow White, and she's like got these animated like woodland creatures.
And they're all like laughing and
Yeah.
in on what she's doing.
Yeah, they're like handing her the poison to poison his coffee, and then like one of them flies over like
She poisons it with rat poison, but then she like puts him in his chair, which always falls back and is broken, but then she makes it so it launches him out of the window.
out of the window and assuming to his death.
To a glorious death.
Yes. Which was fantastic. I loved it because it was so gory.
I liked hers, yeah.
Yeah. And then Judy's was kind of tame. Judy is kind of appalled by the fact that he's a hunter, and when she walks into his office for the first time, she sees the buck
Deer.
head
Yeah.
or deer head on his wall, and she's just like aghast, like,
Yeah.
no, how could you? Not Bambi. Like,
Yeah.
which is the saddest. And so in her fantasy, she's hunting Hart around the office, and he's like a little deer. He like pops his head up amongst desks and like gives a little turn like he's like a real deer. And I was like,
She has this like Tomb Raider outfit on or something with like
she's like on safari. I was like, what are you doing?
I didn't know what it was, but I liked that she had like all of the bullets.
They're like chasing him with like pitchforks and like burning clubs. Like it was
it was pretty violent.
Yeah.
It was
It's
violent,
Yeah,
for sure.
It was kind of like Beauty and the Beast, like kill the beast, and there were the townspeople.
Yeah.
And Doralee, she like has sort of a Western scenario fantasy. So then she like lassos him, and then she basically ends up like.
But the first part of hers is so much better than
Yeah.
that. She's like the boss, and he comes in,
Oh,
and he's
yes.
like, he's her, and I got to give it to the
Yes.
actor. He committed to that, and
Yes.
like he really pulled it off. But you know, she knocked the pens over, and he had to bend over, and then you know, she kind of got
grabs
rough.
him
She
and
gets
tries
rough
to
with him and
kiss
everything,
him.
and he's playing like, you know, all modest and shit. I thought that was awesome, and then she hog ties him.
She hog-ties him and tries to cook him. Like a
I think
pig.
she does cook
Like a
him.
pig. I know.
Like the
She does
pig he
cook him.
is. And I loved it.
It was awesome.
Okay, so they've all given their like stories about how they will fuck up Hart given the chance, and
Yeah.
so they're all like
Big
coming in
time.
the next day, laughing and just like reminiscing about the
I
day.
know. Remember how we killed him 1,000 different ways while stoned? Sounds like my kind of night.
Yes, I like that. And so the first thing, Dora Lee is sent on like some task for Hart, and so Violet is left in the office as his surrogate assistant.
Yeah.
So whenever Dora Lee's gone,
Which she
Violet
hates.
takes over, which is demeaning. And
It's demeaning, but then I also feel bad. I know it's Dora Lee's job, but like how demeaning it is for Lily Tomlin's character. Sometimes the way she expresses it, I feel bad because it is Dora Lee's real job. So she's like, ah. And then it's like, oh, that's what Dora Lee does on a daily basis. But we're all cool. We're friends. We want to kill him. We're past it.
we're past it. So Hart peeks his head out of the door and is like, Violet, coffee. And so Violet gets up to get him the coffee.
And she went on an errand earlier and picked up a couple things
One of them being rat poison.
in the same container, looking
That
exact
looks
container.
exactly like some crazy artificial sweetener that I've never heard
They
of.
call it sweet and skinny.
Sweet and
skinny and-
skinny.
Skinny and sweet.
So 80s. You could
I
put
wonder if
like
it's
skinny
real.
like, or there, I guess
Sweet and low and
we skinny margarita. God, Bethany plays off the skinny thing, but you don't see that in like the name. Of
Yeah.
Skinny jeans. Shit, we still do it.
it's true. That's true.
At first, I was like, "Oh God, that's so we don't do that anymore." And now I'm just naming a bunch of stuff that we name skinny. We have not progressed.
We have progressed. But I mean,
Whatever.
so she makes him the coffee with the rat poison, which was an accident. But I loved that scene because like she's talking to some black employee, and that bitch saw that was rat poison. There's no way she didn't see that. She's looking right at the package. She's looking right in her eyes.
Did not stop
She
it.
did not stop it at all.
If you see something, say something, and that was not
No.
happening here.
She's
It
more in
wasn't.
my camp where she's like, how does this affect me directly? How can I get out of helping? Like,
You know what?
I'm just here to do my job to get paid.
exactly.
And you know what?
Just to
I'm
fly under the radar.
I'll benefit from this anyway. So, and she's not going to tell. Like, I mean, it never comes up later.
No. And so
That's really funny.
Violet gives Hart the cup of coffee angrily, and she like tries to hand it to him, and then she's like, "Oh, just put it down." And then he's like on this conference call, and he's saying something important about the shipping and blah 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 business talk. And then he like all of a sudden, what looks like he's had some sort of aneurysm, hits his head on the table and is like knocked out, spilling the coffee on the floor.
Right.
And then Dora Lee comes back just in the nick of time, is like shaking him, is like, Mr. Hart, Mr. Hart. So they're like off to the hospital, like
Wait,
something's
and hold
wrong.
on. Are none of them hungover? It just seems like they really raged the night before. I mean, I know it's not really important, but I was like, they wake up and they're just like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. They're like, last night was so much fun. And I'm like, you're in your 40s. Like, I would not.
It was the 80s. There was lots of cocaine.
I was going to say, they took an upper or something
Yeah.
because, like, I would not be strolling
Skinny
in.
lines.
It probably was cocaine.
Yeah, they all seemed very, very alert the next day, but that's fine.
So, Hart's in the hospital, close to death, being whisked away. Dora Lee goes with him in the ambulance, and Jade and Violet are on their way to the hospital. Violet realizes what she actually gave him, which is the rat poison and not the sweet and skinny. Mm-hmm. And so they're like, oh, we gotta get to the hospital to let them know that they have to pump his stomach or he's gonna die from rat poison. And I'm
So
gonna
she
lose my
takes the
job.
rat poison with her.
Just in case they question it, because, you know, why would a woman tell you the truth?
I know. Why wouldn't
They're
you
all
just tell on
sneaky.
yourself in this situation? Your dream is happening.
And that one employee is just still working, just minding her business.
She's like,
She's
it
like,
nothing
"I'll
to do with me. Crazy white people. Like, I get that.
Just another crazy white bitch.
Poisoning the boss and getting away with it.
Yeah, exactly. That's really funny.
That was
Oh
really
my
my
God.
favorite scene when she just did nothing. She's just like, I'm like, what? Woman, get your life.
Oh my God.
So they're on the hospital to tell the doctors about Hart, and then they get there, and then they overhear that the person that they think is Hart is in that hospital room. They think it's Hart. And they overhear the doctor come out and say, oh, he died. And then Lily Tomlin's character loses it.
So I love that scene because, first Hart does that typical thing that only in movies they do, where they're like, they wake up from whatever they're sick from, and then they're like, I don't have time to be in the hospital. And me, I would be like, I'm getting out of work. I'm going to stay here. But people are always like, I got a job to do. And he leaves. And then it's another person, who ends up dying on the table. I love when the doctor comes out and it's an investigator, right? A cop is there, and they're asking, because he's a witness or something for them. They're like, oh, how is he doing? And the doctor's just, I'm like, maybe this was an extra bumped up to speaking role. He's like, oh, he's dead. There was no, some of the acting in it was so priceless. There was no, he just didn't give a shit. No. It wasn't even an attempt. Facts. Maybe because it was a cop and it wasn't family, but he's just like, oh, he's dead. He's dead. It's like, cool. I mean, I know you can't get emotionally connected to each person that dies, but damn.
Right? That was like a...
Oh, so then Violet thinks that they're looking for the person that killed Hart. Yes. So now we're getting the whole mixing.
Yeah, they also say that they think he was poisoned. So it was confirming that oh no, it's the rat poison. I really did poison him and killed him.
Stakes are higher.
Stakes are higher.
Stakes have rise.
So then they are freaking out. They're like, well, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? We got to go tell them. I was like,
Violet's like, or just get rid of the body.
I would have been like, you have to do something. Oh no, as I slowly back out of the hospital. You are gonna, good luck with that. And just waving as I leave. That's what I would do. But they're good friends.
I mean, after one night, okay, they're all really in this banding together with Violet. I'm sorry, I spend one night with Violet. I'm not hanging around trying to figure out how to get rid of her. I'm not going to
be an accessory to your murder after one night, after one joint.
Again, it's just a movie. But we only shared one joint, and it wasn't even that good.
It wasn't. There's no way.
I was just like, oh my god, okay.
So so Lily Tomlin, Violet, has the bright idea that if she takes the body, they can't do an autopsy. They can't figure out that it was rat poison. That way they can't link it to her, which is a good plan. So she's trying to get out of the hospital with the body that she thinks is Hart's. And she dumps it in her car. She pulls the car around and
Hart's gone. Hart's gone home.
Hart's gone home. Yeah, he's perfectly fine.
Home. He's fine.
Yeah, he's just taking a little cat nap. Probably. So Violet, Jane Fonda, Dolly Parton, they're all in the car and they're all in on the plan now. So they've just agreed to the...
They're yelling at her I can't believe you did this, but now they're all in the car. So at this point, you're all fucked. Dolly Parton's the only one who brings up what charges they could possibly face throughout this entire movie.
And I was how does she know that?
She's like, we're already in trouble because we stole a body. And now we're in the car with you.
And most importantly, all three are in the front seat, which is very 80s. Because cars used to have 3 seats in the front. I remember that. My mom's blue Subaru.
Oh god, in that car. Sure, yeah. How amazing was that car?
It was
huge. And just clacking down the road. I loved it.
But I hope that Lily Tomlin was really driving it. Just whipping that car around. I hope she's really driving it.
I would love to think she was too, but it looked dangerous.
It did. So they've got the body. Lily Tomlin's great plan is that they're gonna tie cement blocks to his feet and just dump him off the harbor. And I was like, that's the only reason I thought they might be in New York. Because I was like, that's a very New York plan. I'm just gonna dump him in the harbor and nobody's gonna ever
sleep with the fishes.
Yeah,
sleep with the fishes. Dump him in the Hudson.
Right? LA seems like I'm gonna chop him up in little pieces. I'll leave him all along the Sunset Strip, and no one will be the wiser.
Yeah,
that's what I meant.
How would you get rid of a body?
How would I get rid of a body? Well, I don't want to share my secrets.
Yeah. And everyone knows that the correct answer is
pig.
Vat of acid.
Yeah. No, it's a pig. They'll eat anything completely.
You've seen the movie Snatch. Clearly.
Pigs or the Breaking Bad style.
Yeah, they go through bone like bottom.
Mine is the one where John Goodman holds that woman in the basement, and then there's Cloverfield. Yeah, and he dissolves that guy in a vat of acid, and I was like, what guy?
Yeah.
Make sure you're in a plastic tub.
I feel like I would do
ceramic bath.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, you got to dissolve the body.
Yeah. I do fried green tomatoes style.
and serve him up to a bunch of customers.
Oh no!
They make him into a hamburger and just serve him up, right?
Shit, that's that Sweeney Todd movie that I hated. Ugh, Johnny Depp.
I do like the idea of forced cannibalism on unsuspecting customers at a
Eat
restaurant.
and leave a 5-star review.
Have you guys seen Fried Green Tomatoes?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so good. Mary
Also
Louise
never
Parker.
never seen Mystic Pizza. I feel like people say that it's a good
I
movie
haven't
too.
seen that.
I don't think I've seen
Yeah, I would totally serve up mystery pizza.
that. No, you bake it. You work at a bakery. You bake it into something. Into a little croissant. A meat croissant. Okay, where are we?
So they're in the car.
they're in the car. They're trying to get the body to the pier. I'm going to keep doing random accents.
But then they find out there's something wrong with their, like, they get
They have
into
a
a little
headlight
bit of a
out.
crash. No, they get into a little bit of a crash first.
Oh, I forgot.
And then there's something, don't they have to, like, fix the car, and she needs to find something in the trunk. And Dolly Parton, who's calm as can be all the time through this, which cracks me up. She opens the trunk, and then she's like, Judy, can you come over here for a second? And then they see that the blanket or the sheet that's over the dead body has kind of like gotten messed around during their crash, and they're driving, and they realize it's not Hart. So then they're like, it's Lily? Lily Tomlin, can you come over here for a second? And then they show her too. I can't remember their names.
Right, this one for some reason I'm like 3 SFLs at once. I'm like, ugh.
It's exhausting. I only have to remember usually 1 or 2 names. Okay, so yeah, they realize it's not him, which is awesome. But then it's like, well, shit, now we have this other person's body, so what do we do with it?
Simply return it.
So they return it, which we never see actually happen. And
Yeah.
Dolly takes care of it, and I don't know what that means.
That
Air
means
quotes take care.
she fed it
She
to
put
some
him in
wolves.
she put him in a wheelchair and dropped him off from the bathroom, and then
Is that
and
Weekend at
again-
Bernie's? Is that what that is?
no, because he looked pretty dead, and they were not trying
Weekend
to
at
mask.
And this one's covered with the sheet. But again, what you were saying, the woman goes into the bathroom, the black female employee, and she's like, we got another corpse in the bathroom, and then just is like, see ya. And
Yeah.
just pushes him away.
I like how often the corpses
They got away
move.
scot-free with that one. When she found him in the trunk, I definitely thought it was going to be Hart, but he was going to be alive. And then, you know how that happens. You always think the person's dead, and then they're alive. And then when they were saying it wasn't Hart, I thought, okay, it's not Hart, and this guy is dead. But I thought Hart was still dead.
You did?
Yeah, well, I thought they were going to have to go to the hospital and find dead Hart. Like,
Wait, so
do
you
it all
didn't see
over
him
again.
leave?
No, I guess not.
Nice. Finally, someone else misses something in the movie. Like me, who misses entire themes.
Well, so then they're back at work. They've gotten rid of the wrong Hart, not Hart's body.
Yeah.
Back at the hospital, and they're back at work.
And they're good to go.
They're good
It's
to go.
fine.
They're scot free.
They've gotten away.
Movie
with
over.
almost
I was
murder.
like, that was a short movie. I was like, but it said it was 1:50, and I was like, what? The movie's over.
Yeah.
Because we've completed. We're done. But little did they know, they're like regaling their story in the office, and Hart overhears it.
No, Roz overhears it.
Roz.
And she spills the beans, and she tells Hart that they fessed up to trying to poison him with rat poison, and he goes to town on them.
I loved it.
He really goes to town on
he
them.
uses the information at first to blackmail Dora Lee into hanging out with him, going to his place, right? Because that's when then it's like Dora Lee, who's been calm, et cetera, and is like, I can't believe you, Violet, for what you did, decides to hogtie him in his office in response.
Everyone has their limits, and this motherfucker has reached a limit with Dolly.
The stakes just like they keep, and that's what's so beautiful about the movie, and it's so well written, is like you're like, okay, all right, you guys are fine, and then someone makes a dumbass move, and then you're like, oh shit, well now again, here you are, you got the boss, you were fine, and now the boss is hogtied.
I feel like this might be the original version of The Hangover. Like the original, like they lose someone and they're finding a dead body, and then like they just took it away, they just made it men
Jane
and put
Fonda
it
gets
in.
a face tattoo.
But here's the thing, if Roz told on them, I mean, they couldn't prove anything. Yes, they could have gotten fired, but they wouldn't have been in trouble legally. Like, there was no proof of any of it.
No.
Because he didn't actually drink the coffee. So there's no need to really hogtie him, except for the movie.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, cool.
But they don't know that he didn't actually drink the coffee. Because they just find it on the floor. Like, they give it, or Violet gives it to
right.
him, and then they find it on the floor.
And he says that they found something in his system.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right. Okay. So she hogties him.
Sneaky. Yeah, she hogties him, and then she's like, I gotta
In
go
the
find
office.
Violet. Don't do anything. And she leaves Judy with with Hart in the office, and he sweet talks her he seemingly just asks, and she's like, okay.
She unties.
I'll untie you. I was like, I think he asked twice, and she's like, okay. And I was like, no, put up more of a fight than that. But, so she loosens his restraints, and then he's like, haha, I tricked you, I lied. And I was like, what?
Haha, the total prick, and I lied.
Right?
Surprise!
I think that was one of the first times that I like laughed out loud. He's like, haha, I lied. Or I was like, what the hell is this going?
I know.
And then he's like,
gotcha.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna extract my revenge. But then he's like, kind of like laying into Judy, and she's like feeling around on the desk, and I was like, what is she doing? But Dorley has left her purse on the desk, and Dorley is always carrying a gun. So Judy's character pulls the gun out and is pointing it at Hart and just being so epic, and she's like, don't move. Don't do it. You can't leave. And then she ends up firing like 7 shots. And I was like, again. It's probably that same black employee in the corner just like, these fucking crazy.
Wait, here's the thing though. I'm trying to remember. She shoots at him. Is this after work time? Like, why isn't anyone
there? Nobody's in the lobby. So that's why I was confused. I was confused about that.
Maybe
what time of day was it?
It was 5:01 p.m.
Oh, maybe.
9 to 5.
We're working 5:01 p.m.
Time to shoot the boss. Yeah, they really do she shoots at him. So, which Tessa pointed out, which is very, very true, they're now acting out their fantasies. Mm-hmm. Dolly Parton hogtied him. Jane Fonda shot at him. And Lily Tomlin poisoned him. So they've all tried to kill him, basically.
In the exact ways that they'd imagined. But a night earlier.
But
is this the next day? This is like the course of a weekend.
Day.
This is just one wild weekend. Again, the Hangover.
Yeah.
Just one wild weekend.
Until they keep the next part, which is longer.
Yeah, this is like 6 weeks.
Oh my god. Okay, so what do they... So at this point, they've hogtied him, and now they're like, we need to find... Like, they want to figure out a way to blackmail him so that their blackmail is better than his blackmail.
Yeah. They don't want to get in trouble with the cops, so they have to blackmail him into not telling on them.
Because they all think that they're going to get prosecuted for attempted murder. Mm-hmm. So then they're like, well, his wife's out of town on a cruise that he decided not to go on with her. Let's hold him hostage in his own home.
I love how it's like, once they figure out their blackmail plan, they have like 6 weeks. They're like, we can do it.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
At no point where they're like, let's find a faster way to blackmail him. They're like, let's just hold him hostage.
Yeah,
for
I was
6
like, you could have
weeks.
flown to like head office, gotten the paperwork that they needed, and flown back faster than just waiting out these 6 weeks. And I was
or
like,
you could have hired like a real mobster to blackmail him. Like,
Well, and the reason why they had to wait 6 weeks is what they found out to blackmail him with is an empty warehouse. So he was probably like laundering money and stuff. So he said that it was like a place that was on some of his billing statements, and Lily Tomlin had seen it, and so she went and checked it out. It all came together for them very quickly.
Yeah.
They did it very fast. So now they're like, okay, we're going to hold this over his head, but we're not going to get the paperwork we need for 6 weeks to be able to prove it. So we need to hold him hostage until his wife comes home. So they have a calendar in very 80s movie-esque. It's like X. And all they have on the calendar, like no written plans of anything. They just have like Roz comes back, wife comes back, and then X's on each day. I'm like, that's fucking brilliant.
I loved it. And I loved his wife, who's just like Hart's wife is very in love with him, and she's just like so oblivious.
Doesn't care.
She like comes in like wearing like a fur coat, and she's like holding a Louis, and she's just like, let's go on vacation, honey. And like,
I know you hate me, but I just show up at work.
He's like, I told you never to come here. God, you're ruining my game.
I know. And she turns to Dolly Parton, you're very attractive. I was like, what is it?
he's like mid-sexual harassment on Dolly. And like, she's like, oh, you sweet thing. She's like...
But so they get rid of Roz, though, because Roz keeps wanting to get in touch with him because he's not coming back to the office. So they find out that no one cares about him. No one wants to meet him in person. They're basically doing his job for him, pretending that he's gone and that he's there, but he just happens to never be in the office when people want to see him. They don't even like try to put up like no one. I mean, are they locking the door? Like how is Dolly?
Like
Dolly just is able to.
Seems like she just like
anyone.
knocks and like pokes her head in and then just goes in. Like
She's a gatekeeper.
She's a total gatekeeper. And they send Roz on a trip to go learn another language.
Yeah.
So now they have him hostage in his own place. Please, Tessa, tell us how they've done it and the contraption that they set up.
Wow. So Dolly hogties him. And then he
For like the 8th time in this movie.
She loves
hogtying.
loves hogtying him.
I wonder
And
if
then-
she does that, like, that's part of her sex thing also. She seemed to really know what she was doing. Like, maybe it's something she does for her hubby.
Maybe. Her and her husband seem like they had the best relationship.
Yeah, it's very
Well,
cute.
and she's the only one with a
With
husband.
innocence,
Yeah, with a current husband.
Oh, right,
She's
right.
the best and worst relationship.
Yeah.
Because Lily Tomlin said she was a widow, but she
Yeah.
wished her husband was alive so she could divorce him.
Are you kidding? You get 100%, not 50. Die.
I thought that was hilarious.
So this is the part that I missed is like, how did they rig the ceiling contraption?
They didn't show
So,
Oh, okay. Oh, I did.
well, so at one point, so Lily Tomlin's husband dies. She's a widower, and she's raising these 4 boys. In one of the early scenes,
Like a garage door.
in one of the early scenes, she like installs a garage door opener. And it was like that's an SFL moment.
Totally.
You know, and then like that's
Shaking
when her son offers her the joint. But anyway, so she knew how to install a garage door opener.
So it was like a garage door kind of
Yes.
thingy.
Okay.
Yeah, and then they just clipped him to it.
They
Yeah.
clipped him to it and set
Yeah.
it up so if he like did anything, so he could walk around the room, but he's attached by a string. So and he's chained.
With like all this S&M gear.
Yeah.
It's like, which one of you kinky bitches already have that?
He did it. That's his house. This is what he's into.
I think they went shopping. I thought they went shopping and picked stuff
You
up.
thought he was into that?
I thought his like kind of crazy kooky wife was into it.
Oh, I thought they bought it. But it doesn't matter when they like would get, if he tried to try anything or he attempted to like attack them or something, they would just pull this string and it would just pull him up to the
They
ceiling.
press the garage door opener
Yes.
button. And
I
it
think
rip
that
them
people
back.
should install those in the real house for people who have children, like if they're being bad.
Okay, so if you were to hold someone hostage in your place, how would you do it?
In my apartment. That's a good question. Can I sedate them?
You can do anything you want. This is a made-up scenario.
Well, I thought it had to be like a contraption, like a la Casper, like you know, like
literally do
I
anything
close
you
the
want.
door and then like a cage falls down on them and then the cage is electrified and then I'm just like kind of talking and I set them up with a remote so they can still watch TV and then maybe
It's
a
kind of
bucket,
you.
a pee jar, like
Kind of you.
So is that how you do it?
probably.
Okay, cool.
But do I like this person or is this like a mean person?
I don't know.
Why are you holding someone hostage that you like?
Because one of my siblings are like, I don't know,
My
why am I
24-hour
mad?
friend. Yeah, why are you mad? We don't have much context.
Yeah, exactly. Paint me a story. Is
I
this
like
like an
your idea.
ex? Is this like someone I want to like prod?
It's whoever you want. Well, that's
Literally
but you
anyone,
really.
Tessa.
Prod.
I think you described it like a cow prod.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. So then, like, what we don't see is that this whole time, Hart has been sneaking around the house, being his sneaky self.
Use a nail file to
Yeah.
get out of his cuffs,
Mhm.
his leather cuffs.
His leather cuffs, and it has been like free for like about 3 days. So he's like making calls and arrangements behind the lady's back to right all of his wrongs so that when he springs it on them, he'll have no more, he won't be in trouble with the company anymore and he can just put all the blame on them for kidnapping him.
Right.
Uh,
Which is, I mean, solid plan. Like
Solid plan.
Like good move.
yeah,
Like all right,
Sneaky.
you get it.
sneaky.
You did it. We see why you're in your position, dickhead.
And so the women find out because Hart's wife thanks Dora Lee for flowers that she sent. She's like, oh, thank you so much, Dora Lee, for sending me these flowers. There's no way that Hart would have sent me the flowers. And Dora Lee tries to cover again for him, saying, oh, no, it was his idea and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, no, it wasn't. And I was like, oh, so you do know. You're not dumb. What's
Right.
going on? But I guess if you had a 6-week vacation from your
Shouldn't care.
husband with all sorts of island lovers, I'd
It
probably
seems
take
like
that
it's
deal.
just a contractual thing.
Yeah, I would take that deal.
But then Hart breaks free.
Hart breaks free. He's doing all his calls, and then the ladies figure out that Hart is free, and so they race over to his house in order to like recapture him. And he comes out. He comes out at gunpoint with Judy and just confronts them
And
all.
Dolly, I love Dolly. Judy,
Like, how dare you
she
get
did it
captured?
on purpose. Dolly's always like, how could you? And I'm like, you guys are all fucking up all over here. I love it. So he escorts them to the office at gunpoint, and then the chairman of the board,
Colonel Sanders.
with that beard, man, with that beard, he comes in, and all the men like walking beside him, they're all like, hee, and they have these smiles, and we noticed that like there was a guy who was taking notes subtly throughout the
That's the
movie,
movie.
and I thought that he was like a bad guy, but instead he was taking notes like about the policies that the women had implemented in Hart's absence, which were for like daycare, equal pay,
flexible work
schedule, and alcohol treatment.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: the chairman liked all of the changes because the production
went up by 20%.
Went up.
It's always 20%.
It's always 20%. So here, Hart then is like, oh shit, I don't know. Like, he has him at gunpoint. So he has a gun on him. And now the chairman of the board is saying, we love all of these policies, but Hart doesn't know anything about them. So he has to, like, defer to Lily Tomlin to explain them. So then she is getting some more recognition for, like, what she's saying.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Except when they're, like, each policy that she, like, put in place, the chairman was really into, and then, like, a few minutes later, they're like, except for the equal pay. He's like, oh yeah, that's gotta go.
Oh my God, I know.
I hated that. I was like...
He's like, that one's gotta go. I'm like, damn. This
like,
would have been, like, way beyond its time if it wouldn't have had that moment.
They should have hog-tied.
Yeah, they should have started over. Start the plot over with this guy.
But so
we hog-tied the wrong one. Get it going again.
Start at the top.
Get your gear, lady.
Go to the top. But Hart, like, got the recognition still, but it worked against him. So the women weren't recognized for, like, them implementing it, because then they would have to admit that he wasn't there the whole time. So he got the recognition, but then they're like, we're sending you to Brazil to open the new office, which is funny because my dad went to Brazil. My dad's not Hart, is he? But so then they sent him off to Brazil, so they all kind of win because he's gone then, so it doesn't matter.
And then they, like, say in, like, the end credits that Violet gets Hart's job. She's finally recognized for the great job that she actually
so she's
did.
The boss.
Yeah, so she does get, like, you know, her justice in the end, that she gets the job that she wanted. And I love that Dorley quits and becomes a country western singer.
Totally.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Love it.
Although,
On the
does she
nose
sing
and
ever in the movie?
No.
I
It's a
think it's
shame.
just like a
real
nod to us
shame.
knowing who Dolly Parton is.
Yeah.
I guess, at the time.
They say that her husband is a musician.
Yeah.
And makes great ribs.
But then Judy, I mean, falls in love and marries a Xerox rep. I was like, boring. Just because you suck at making copies, like that was her future. I don't
Yeah.
know. Well, I mean, maybe she didn't.
They should have
work
done
anymore.
like her, like, you know, joined a militia and went to Vietnam.
Yeah.
Whatever Jane Fonda really did.
I know.
Or started a series of workout DVDs.
And then
It's
she
been uber
took,
successful.
And then she took like a really inappropriate picture. Do you remember all of that?
Yeah, and she's not Suzanne Somers, no matter how many times you confuse the two.
She's not Suzanne.
I remember my mom watched those Jane Fonda workout movies, and she would wear pastel purple leggings with like the leotard over it with those pink.
It's an outfit. It's a statement.
It is a statement. I loved it.
But here's the thing: Hart is abducted by Amazons in the
he dies pretty
Brazilian
quickly.
jungle and never heard again. I was like, well, that's very 80s.
I know. Okay.
By a crazy tribal folk. I mean, they might as well have just said that. It was 1980. So shit. I mean, everyone wins.
I loved it. There's only SFLs.
Only SFLs.
Yeah, this might be my first 5 out of 5 Xerox copies. I think there's only SFLs.
Yeah.
I feel like none of this could have happened without like one of the members of this cast.
Yeah.
I feel like they all shared the SFL pretty equally. Like
They did.
they all had their own agency. Nobody was waiting around for a man to do anything for them. They made a decision and they fucking did it.
And they each moved the plot.
They
It was
each
so
moved the plot.
perfectly written. They each moved the
They
plot a
did a
step.
really good
It was
job.
tight.
Yeah.
I want to see who wrote it. I mean, it was just very well done. Very, very well done. I like a very like tight script like that.
Ooh, they're
It was
going to say butt.
fantastic. And I love a tight butt. A tight butt in a tight script. SFL moments, though. I mean, all of them, honestly.
Yeah. I love, like, Lily Tomlin's, like, weird little asides where she would just, like, you know, get everything off her chest. Because I was like, I would prefer that you were saying... Well, she does say them to Hart in some instances, but, like, just to acknowledge how fucked up this is, that you've trained these people, or these men, these people.
She did say that to him, didn't she?
Yeah. At the when she's in that beautiful orange ensemble.
I mean, SFL moments, all of them, but I really, really liked, even though it was a fantasy, I loved the Dolly Parton scene where she kind of schooled him and treated him exactly how he treated her. I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah.
I thought it was great.
They should teach this again for when people are very confused about what Me Too means or how this could apply to you. Or
there's a bunch of like sex discrimination though, like the sex discrimination in terms of Lily Tomlin not being able to get the job that she's qualified for, sexual harassment in the manner that he treats Dolly Parton and basically offers her like quid pro quo, which is completely illegal now in terms of like, you can't keep your job unless you don't you still need this work, blah, 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 that kind of thing. I mean, it's all over the place. And then just his language in general. Like, language sometimes isn't enough, but if it's, like, pervasive and severe enough, it's definitely...
It's hostile work environment.
It's hostile
There's
work
three
environment.
types of sexual harassment. There's quid pro quo, hostile work environment, and tit for tat.
Tit for tat's a bit quid pro quo. I was like, no, that's the same thing, Hillary. Oh my God. I love that you know that though, but yeah, hostile work environment is like if it's sexual harassment that causes a hostile work environment or if it's quid pro quo. And it was all of these.
And I like that Jane Fonda's storyline too about, she was the only one who had like kind of a domestic lean to her stuff about the divorce and like her being cheated on and having to
Right.
find work for herself as like an adult woman who's never worked before,
Right.
and being discriminating in that way, and like Lily Tomlin not wanting to like train her because she's never worked before. And I'm like, oh, that's another form of discrimination.
Yeah. Oh,
and I'm like, that's probably the scariest one, like, you know, to walk in, you know, literally to the lion's den, having thought your life was going to go one way and then only to be...
Well, I could argue that sexually harassing you might be a little scarier. You know, there's a little...
But I mean, like, she has, like,
Tit
a
for
more of a
tat.
support system.
Right.
Like, she
Yeah.
has her husband and, like,
Oh,
she's
who
kind of
does?
alone.
Jane?
Yeah.
Yeah,
she was
And Lily has her kids and her mother, and, like, she has more of a support. It seems to be just
Right.
Jane and her child who's unseen.
Yeah, right. I don't know. Maybe she had him captive. For separate reasons.
How many hog ties would you give this movie, Tricia?
This was a delight. It's very hard. I haven't, you know what, of the SFL movies we've done with true SFLs and like having 3 strong ones, I would give this a 5 out of 5.
Guys, insert the music. 9 to 5.
Working 9 to 5, what a way to make a living.
It was perfectly written. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
It was like kind of progressive in its own right, and the acting was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Now I see why these women are legends. Like I knew they were, but I just hadn't seen them in a movie in a movie from that time.
Yeah. And I like that they keep these character perspectives, like in Grace and Frankie, the show that Jane and Lily do now, which I fucking love. I said this earlier, I love a mature comedy. I love it. I'm here for it. I got time. Give me a pantsuit and a lady with a book club, and I'm here.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, it's great. And they also refer to it in, what was it? What award show was it, Hillary?
Oh, yeah. I'll play a clip at the end of it, but the 3 of them, Dolly, Lily, and Jane, they're all presenting a nomination at the 2017 Emmys, and they were basically saying we didn't put up with our, you know, asshole boss in the 80s, and we're not going to do it anymore, referring to Trump.
Yeah, what do they call him? They call him sexist, egotistical, lying, hypocritical bigot.
Which is what they kept saying in the movie.
Yeah, because it's the line that they keep repeating about him.
Stick around to the very end, and I'll add that in.
Well, thanks, guys.
yeah. What did you think? Are we correct? I know we're correct.
Yeah, no, we're definitely correct.
We're definitely
If you
correct.
guys do not think this is an SFL movie, then we don't want you.
Yeah. Tell us how
We don't
this
want
changed
you
your life.
Any 9 to 5 superfans out there, get at us on Instagram. We want to hear what you think.
Get at us.
Yeah.
I like it.
Get at us.
And tell us how you would hold someone hostage.
Yeah.
Very curious.
And I'd just like to, before we exit, just say that I've never and don't plan on holding anyone hostage. I don't have any prodding equipment in my house at present.
On a scale of 9 to 5, I really fail.
Just want to make it clear.
You sounded like you knew
that-
exactly what you were talking about.
No, it came to me quickly, and I was concerned.
Are you nervous because of the results of your previous sociopath quiz? That people might think that you're actually up to something?
No, because I was only mildly a sociopath.
That's true. That's true.
And that's why I kept asking, like, do I hate them? Or, like, what's what's the story? What's the sitch? Because, like, I don't want to put too much energy into someone I just, like, a random person.
Yeah,
Like,
no, for sure. You got a heart.
someone had to slight
got a
me.
heart of
Slight me.
gold.
And then it's over. I got time to be plotting. bitches be plotting.
Well, guys, you can find us on Instagram at @strongfemalepod and Twitter at SFL_Chicago. We really need to bulk up that Twitter. Guys, start following us. We only have like 20 followers. We don't really tweet that well. And that's it. I think that's it.
Yeah.
And thanks, Cam.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Bye.
Awesome. Bye.
Well, thank you. Oh, that's nice. Well, we appreciate that. And personally, I have been waiting for a 9 to 5 reunion ever since we did the first one.
Well, yeah, well, back in 1980 in that movie, we refused to be controlled by a sexist, egotistical, lying, hypocritical bigot.
Really? And in 2017, we still refuse to be controlled by a sexist, egotistical, lying, hypocritical bigot.